The door to your bunker seals shut with a satisfying hydraulic hiss. You've spent years building this refuge, stockpiling freeze-dried meals, ammunition, water purification tablets. The world above has finally collapsed, grid down, supply chains severed, society fragmenting into tribal violence. You're underground, protected by reinforced concrete and steel doors. You feel safe. You're not. In fact, you've just locked yourself into what will likely become your tomb. Here's what the prepper magazines and survival forums won't tell you. That bunker you've invested your life savings into is a monument to a fundamental misunderstanding of how human systems actually fail. The physics of survival in a true collapse scenario operates on principles that directly contradict the isolated fortress mentality. Your bunker isn't a solution, it's a liability masquerading as security. And understanding why requires us to examine the brutal mathematics of post-collapse survival. Let's start with the most obvious problem. You're stationary. In a world where resource distribution has ceased, being fixed to one location means you're dependent on whatever you managed to store before everything went dark. The average well-stocked bunker contains food for 6 months to 2 years. Impressive, until you consider that true societal collapse, the kind that doesn't recover in a generation, transforms the equation entirely. You're not waiting out a storm, you're adapting to a permanent new reality. That freeze-dried beef stroganoff has an expiration date, but the collapsed world doesn't. When your supplies run out, you emerge into a landscape that's been picked clean by more mobile survivors, and you've lost months of critical adaptation time. The thermodynamics work against you too. Every bunker requires energy for ventilation, for temperature regulation, for water pumping. You've got solar panels, maybe a generator with fuel reserves, but photovoltaic cells degrade. Fuel oxidizes, batteries lose capacity with each charge cycle. The second law of thermodynamics doesn't care about your survival, plain entropy increases, systems break down. And without the industrial base to manufacture replacement parts, you're watching your life support system slowly fail with no ability to stop it. A survivor moving through urban ruins can scavenge parts, adapt systems, find alternative energy sources. You're trapped with your degrading technology. But the real killer is water. You think you've solved this with storage tanks and purification systems, but let's run the numbers. A human needs roughly 2 liters of water per day, just for drinking more if you're under stress, which you will be. That's 730 liters per year, per person. Add cooking, minimal hygiene, and you're looking at over 1,000 liters annually. Where's your water source? If you're dependent on stored water, you're on a countdown clock. If you're using a well, you need electricity to pump it. If you're collecting rainwater, you're vulnerable to drought and need a surface area large enough to capture sufficient precipitation, which means exposure. Every solution has a failure point, and underground, you can't adapt when those failure points collapse. The psychology is even more devastating than the physics. Humans are not designed for isolation. The brain requires social interaction, environmental stimulation, and purposeful activity to maintain function. Lock yourself in a concrete box, even with family, and you're conducting a psychological experiment that consistently ends in predictable pathways: depression, paranoia, interpersonal violence. The Stanford Prison Experiment wasn't an aberration, it was a demonstration of what happens when humans are confined under stress with no escape. Your bunker becomes a pressure cooker of deteriorating mental states. And unlike laboratory experiments, there's no researcher to call it off when things go wrong. Here's what actually works, and it's the opposite of everything the bunker mythology sells you: mobility, adaptability, and community integration. The survivors of every historical collapse, from the Bronze Age collapse to the fall of the Western Roman Empire, were the ones who hid. They were the ones who understood network dynamics. They positioned themselves at nodes where resources could be traded, where knowledge had value, where their skills made them indispensable rather than threatening. In a post-grid urban environment, this means understanding the forgotten infrastructure of the city itself. Every metropolitan area has layers: abandoned subway tunnels, utility corridors, maintenance access points that most people don't know exist. These aren't hiding places. They're transportation networks that allow movement without exposure to surface chaos. Learn to navigate by municipal water lines, by old pneumatic tube systems from the pre-digital era, by steam tunnels that connect buildings and city centers. These routes exist in blueprints stored in municipal archives and engineering departments. Access this knowledge now. Map it, walk it. When everyone else is fighting over main streets, you're using arteries they've forgotten exist. Food isn't stored, it's produced. Your stockpile feeds you while you establish cultivation systems. Urban environments offer thousands of microclimates for growing. Rooftop gardens capture sun above the street-level chaos. Hydroponic systems in basements use recycled water and LED grow lights powered by scavenged solar panels, portable ones. You can move as situations change. Fungi cultivation requires minimal light and space, provides protein, and can be grown on waste organic material. Insects for protein require even less space and convert organic matter more efficiently than any mammal. This isn't theoretical, this is applied biology that's sustained human populations. Through every historical bottleneck, chemical knowledge becomes survival knowledge. Cleaning supplies from abandoned stores become water purification agents. Pool shock is calcium hypochlorite, which breaks down into chlorine for disinfection. Distillation isn't just for drinking water, it's for extracting useful compounds from materials others ignore. Alcohol for sterilization comes from fermentation of any sugar source. Basic acid-base chemistry lets you neutralize contaminants. Adjust soil pH for cultivation, even synthesize simple medications. Every shopping center, every warehouse, every industrial zone contains a chemical library, if you know what you're looking at. But here's the critical component most survival thinking completely misses: timing. The first 72 hours of a collapse are pure chaos, violence, panic, irrational behavior. Bunker enthusiasts think they're avoiding this by hiding. They're actually just delaying their exposure to it. The smart play is different. You shelter in place initially, but you're not consuming your supplies. You're observing. You're watching patterns, identifying who panics, who organizes, who has skills. You're waiting for the first wave of violence to exhaust itself, because it will. Panic is metabolically expensive and short-lived. The window that matters is days 3 through 30. This is when new power structures emerge, when people begin trading instead of stealing, when skills become more valuable than hoarded goods. This is when you integrate. You bring knowledge, water purification, food cultivation, basic medical skills, mechanical repair. You become valuable to an emerging network rather than a target with a hidden stockpile. Game theory is clear on this. In repeated interactions, cooperation outcompetes defection. But you need to be present for those repeated interactions. Your bunker removes you from the board entirely. The mental edge that determines survival isn't about toughness, it's about adaptability under cognitive load. When you're stressed, your brain defaults to System 1 thinking: fast, instinctive, pattern-based. This is why people in disasters make predictable mistakes. They follow crowds. They freeze. They default to pre-collapse behaviors that no longer apply. Training yourself to engage System to thinking slow, analytical, deliberate under stress requires practice. Run scenarios mentally. Put yourself in high-stress situations now, and practice making rational decisions while your heart rate is elevated. Learn to recognize when you're defaulting to instinct and override it. Your survival depends on a simple recognition. Humans are network creatures who survived every previous collapse by adapting, moving, and cooperating. The bunker is a fantasy that ignores physics, psychology, and history. The prepared survivor isn't hiding underground, counting canned goods. They're mapping infrastructure, learning chemistry, building portable skills, and understanding that the only thing that truly survives the apocalypse is knowledge that adapts faster than conditions change. The door to your bunker can seal, but it can't seal out reality. And reality is clear. Preparation isn't about hiding from the collapse. It's about preparing to navigate what comes after. Learn now, move later, or seal yourself in and wait for your supplies to run out while the world above rebuilds without you. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.